We watched them for probably about 2.5 hours. Just watched them move back and forth. I'm a little embarrassed that people are going to think I'm a little crazy, but I know what I saw.
And miles away in Mesa, Jeff Woolwine, who's been videotaping lights in the sky almost every night since then.
No one has told us exactly what they are, so I'm here to try to figure out maybe we can explain some of these things or not.
The military had an answer. Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson granted our request for a tour to see pilots and their crews getting ready for a training mission. Here, they're preparing flares which will be loaded onto their fighter jets. Major Dave Truxaw flies the A-10 warship. He is convinced that what we and many others saw that night were flares over Gila Bend.
In my opinion, and from what I've seen flying here, flying Korea, Afghanistan, all over the place, and a dark night, and like we have out here in no city, those things light up very, very well, and you can see them for, I'd say, 100 miles.
You can see even frame by frame.
To be sure, we turn to renowned computer analyst Jim Dilatoso.
Looking at it in the studio, my first reaction was, because of the way that the lights were oscillating, changing in brightness, I thought it was flares. But I don't jump to conclusions. I don't hold the vial of laboratory blood up to the window and say, well, looks okay to me. You know, there's some testing that has to be done, extract the data, compare it to normals. Well, now I have found that it is not flares that I am familiar with in my database.
Well, if anybody wants to call those flares, I'll eat my hat. Because those things are evenly lit globes. They're not hard points of light. They're evenly lit all the way across. And besides, how would an airplane be able to drop flares and have them stay in that triangular formation
for more than a second or two?
Pretty good flying technique.
Exactly. You know, and if their flares were supposed to light up things, right? It's supposed to be an elimination flare. Well, we would see the smoke.
And another thing too about those triangles, that in a lot of these images there always seems to be a trailer below them and behind them for some reason, like a little scout ship or whatever.
You know, I didn't know this at the time, but when the lights were hanging out right there, I didn't know this until the next year when I was able to get out there and to find out exactly where they're hanging out at, is when I came to find out that there's a power plant out there. Yeah. And I learned that the nuclear Verde power plant was shut down at that time, and all these electrical power plants was turned on. And I believe these things are feeding the energy. They're absorbing the energy. And when you study this, the spinning balls, these spheres, these orange amber lights, they're energy. And see, we have to go back even further than this to explain this on reason why they're hanging around mountains. Because mountains, some of them are made by fault lines. South Mountain and the Australia Mountains were made by fault lines. And these fault lines generate energy. And I believe these things are able to absorb this energy.
They do, just
to make it
like a piezoelectric crystal.
And
right.
And also, too, with a lot of the crop circles, a lot of the so-called genuine crop circles, they leave radioactive traces behind that you actually read that it's stronger than the crop around it. And also with the Roswell incident,
exactly,
you know, it's believed that that could have been some kind of nuclear explosion.
It's